Hello everyone and welcome to the Catching Up on JP Part 10. Now I know I haven't done any of these in a while, and mainly it's just because a lot of the stories that I want to summarize just haven't been translated just yet, but I know that Manga Union translations are working on a whole bunch of them, so well, in the meantime I'm just gonna do something that is translated yet, which is Main Story Arc 2 Chapter 3, in case Chapter 4 is coming soon, which it might. So we're just gonna head right into the first section. So the first section begins with, well, just a tiny little recap is what happened at the end of Chapter 2 is that Ui was kidnapped with the help of, or mostly by, Ulala from the Promised Blood, a character who is new to that point, while Neomegas just didn't do anything. And the thing is, the reason why they kidnapped Ui is because they want Ui to spill the location of the next Kimochi, because they feel like Ui probably knows where the next Kimochi is. However, they are not having any good luck with that, because Ui doesn't really want to tell them that, and Ui even says that she doesn't fear death. You can kill me if you want, I'm not going to tell you, blah blah, because this is more important than my life and stuff like that. Just trying to play hero, even though we know that Ui probably, you know, it's just a few seconds away from pissing her pants, because Ui is not very much the courageous type. Whatever. So, meanwhile, of course, the rest of the entire Kamihama Union, they of course know about that happened, and Toka especially, what she does is she builds these like special GPS trackers, and listen to this. So apparently, not just are they GPS trackers that attach to people and give you like GPS information about these people. No, these GPS trackers can also hack phones of the people that you attach them to, because they're just that awesome. Toka can do anything, even if Toka can't actually transform, she can do all this really crazy stuff, so her not being able to transform is not really making an impact on this story, at least like in a negative way. Anyway, so meanwhile, Kanagi and the Nays, they've got these trackers now, and they're scouting around, trying to find out where PB's base could be in Kamihama, because they keep popping up in Kamihama, so maybe they have a base here somewhere, and they happen to find Hikaru and some minions, and they attach some GPS trackers to Hikaru as Hikaru flees. I think they even fight them for just a little bit. Doesn't matter. The important bit is they get a GPS tracker on Hikaru and some other PB minions, but who cares about that? And Hikaru does realize that she has been tracked, but she doesn't realize that her phone is being hacked, so all that does is actually just that the phone is now acting like another GPS tracker, so at the end of the day, they can just see where she's going now. And that information is going to come in basically at the very, very end of this entire chapter. Not the very end, almost the very end of this entire chapter. This is going to come in again, but for right now, just know that this happened. So, meanwhile, back at the base of PB, like not the one in Kamihama, I think this is one in Futatsugi City, they keep interrogating Ui, and they realize that, well, this is not really working. What do we do? And Hikaru says, how about we torture her? And Yuna and Julia are like, yeah, let's go ahead and torture the. But the thing is, Ao is there, and Ao doesn't quite like that. Ao thinks that, you know what, kidnapping a little child and then torturing her for information might not be the best thing to do, and she reasons to the other ones, and they all say, yeah, okay, you're right. Our little bloodlust might have gotten might have gotten ahead of us there for just a little second. I swear we're the good guys. And so what they do instead is they try to play a little trick. They try to play a ruse, and what they do is they basically act like Ui is having a short opportunity where she is able to write a short little letter and then give that letter to Mokyu, so that Mokyu can take that letter and sort of bring it all the way back to Kamihama and warn the rest of Team Mikazuki about what's going on, where she's being held, where the next Kimochi is, and so on. But of course, this is all just a trap, and they immediately intercept Mokyu with the letter. However, the letter is it's got like a cipher in it, because Ui is actually a lot smarter, maybe, than she lets on. So yeah, she was at least smart enough to employ a cipher, so they're not able to completely decipher the letter, but they still let Mokyu go with the letter, and yeah, Mokyu is now off on their merry way back to Kamihama on merry troubles. Meanwhile, though, back at Kamihama, we see that Momoko, Tsuruno, and Iroha, they find out with all of their information that they've gathered that Sakuya, who is at their school, is actually a part of Promised Blood. So they interrogate her, and they are very nice to Sakuya, and they don't do anything bad to Sakuya. They don't torture her or anything, because who would do that? And Sakuya's like, oh my god, you guys are so nice to me. I'm not gonna tell you anything, because fuck you guys, but I can at least like put in a good word back at the PB base and sort of tell them to not harm Ui, so that Ui is gonna be safe. Wouldn't that be nice? And they go, oh, that's nice of you that you keeping Ui safe for us. Awesome. So in the meantime, while all of this is happening, Mokyu finally arrives. I say finally, that happened really fast, at Villa Mikasuki, and they all read the message, and they can of course decipher it, because it's I think it's like a Goto cipher from Sanda's show that you used to watch, like Mr. Purse a lot. Yeah, I think it's Mr. Purse a lot. And using that deciphered information, they find out where the Kimochi is. But whoa, no, PB was having spies around and stuff, and they also figured out where the next Kimochi is. So both Team Mikasuki and, I guess, Kamehamaga Union, they're all on their way now to do something about this. However, they devised their own sort of strategy to go on about this. First, Team Mikasuki and Team Kamore, they're gonna head off together, and they're not gonna go after the Kimochi. They've told all the other guys, they told Kamehamaga Union where the next Kimochi is. No, they're gonna hop off on a train, and they're gonna go all the way over to Futatsugi City, and with the information from Mokyu, they're gonna go where Ui is being held, and they're gonna like bring Ui home, I guess. So the rest of Kamehamaga Union, they're off to fight the Kimochi though, and also like Promised Blood has split off. It's like some people, some goons are going towards the Kimochi now, while the rest is staying in Futatsugi City because they have plans on what they're going to do in Futatsugi City. So all of this is playing out, and of course the Kamehamaga Union and PB, they both arrive at the Kimochi at basically the same time, and they both fight it out, as has happened so many times in this main story arc 2 so far, and it's gonna keep happening. However, it's not just those two factions that are here. Himena is there with Hagumu and Shigure, like the Neo-Magius, they're there, and Himena is basically telling Shigure and Hagumu to stop being such giant losers and pushovers, and that they should actually do something. But in the meantime, until they figure out what they want to do, they can at least try and act along as like slaves of Promised Blood, because, you know, the last chapter sort of Judy strong-armed them into helping out Promised Blood, and Himena is like, yeah, keep up that facade, but in the meantime, I'm gonna worry about what we're gonna do to bring back glory to Neo-Magus and stuff. So then the next section begins, and this section is a bit wonky because like it keeps jumping back and forth between Kamehama and Futatsuki City with a whole bunch of stuff happening in both places. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to first do everything that happens in Kamehama in this section, and then everything that happens in Futatsuki in this section, because otherwise, after every single sentence, I would have to go, meanwhile, back in the other city, and then meanwhile, back in the other city, and that kind of sucks. So we're going to do everything that happens in Kamehama in this section, and that is that, well, Neo-Magus with Himena, they want to join the battle. And Himena has brought someone else along, her best friend Alexandra. Everyone say hello to Alexandra. She's here to fight, I guess. She has a harp. And not just them, of course. As I mentioned, the Kamehamaga Union and Promised Blood, they all fight over the Kimochi. However, Himena, she doesn't actually fight that much. She mostly just stands back and sort of just watches. She just watches people fight and, like, I guess takes mental notes just to figure out how everyone fights, what everyone's powers are. She's like trying to play the mastermind game of figuring out what people are doing to gather information. And, well, not really much else happens at that point until at the very end. Neo-Magus, they just sort of fall back, and Himena goes, yeah, I've seen enough, and just sort of backs out. And Ao, in the meantime, she was also there. Well, I think the other ones, like Juri, Hikaru, Yuna, like the other big guys on Promised Blood, they're all back in Futatsuki City. But Ao is still there, and she basically just one-shots the Kimochi. She just does that because Ao was apparently really awesome. So now that everyone has no more reason to fight because the Kimochi is dead, they also all sort of just like back off and go home, I guess. So now actually to Futatsuki City. So in Futatsuki City, Mokyu has the team, which in this case is all of Team Mikasuki and Kamore, and Mokyu leads them over to the place where Ui was being held. But oh no, Ui is no longer there. It's just an empty building now. Oh no, something have happened? Could this all have been a trap? Yes, because suddenly a whole bunch of PB members surround the team and sort of a fight breaks out, but it's not really about the fight itself that's important to Promised Blood. What their real goal is they separate Iroha from the rest of the team. So all of the rest of the team, they all run off some other place, and Iroha gets driven some other place, and now Iroha has to somehow fend for herself. So now they all get chased throughout the city and go in and out of buildings, and they're sort of trying to keep up their disguise, so they're not really fighting out in the open where there's a whole bunch of people, and they're not fighting inside building where there's also a whole bunch of people. They're just sort of like jogging next to other people who are looking very angry, while I guess bystanders are going, what are these people doing? Why are they just jogging next to each other, looking at each other angrily? That's looking weird. Anyway, so they all get chased around, and what happens is the Team Mikazuki and Team Kamari, they all hide at a karaoke bar, and meanwhile Iroha gets, I think, chased into some cafe, and what happens there is she actually manages to just for a second shake off Hikaru and the minions that she had with her, and was able to pick an opportune moment which was able to strike Hikaru and just Hikaru, and basically have an epic one-on-one battle, just her versus Hikaru. In the meantime, at the karaoke bar, Tsuruno has this amazing idea that maybe she could like record their voices and then play them back repeatedly to make people outside of the karaoke bar think that they're still inside, and Tsuruno thinks that that's an amazing plan, and I think that's also an amazing plan. Good job on you, Tsuruno. However, that's actually a terrible plan, because PB has the entire building surrounded, so they can't leave anyway. Like, how is it supposed to sneak out? The entire building is surrounded. Sorry, Tsuruno. So at the end, they decide to just, you know, just kick down the front door and just rush out and, like, try and somehow, like, break through the blockade or whatever. However, as they get back outside, it's just Sakuya there. Everyone else is just gone. So Sakuya is the only one left outside, and Sakuya basically betrays Promised Blood at this point, kind of. So what Sakuya does at this point, she's like, you know what, I don't believe in Yuna anymore, I don't believe in Promised Blood anymore. Like, I'm still gonna act like I'm part of them when they're around, but just between us right now, I'm totally on your guys' side. And she gives them a whole bunch of vital information, like, oh, there's an ambush over there, stay away from here, you should go over there, like, sort of directs them around. And she also gives all the information to Yachio so that Yachio can call Iroha on her phone, who is currently in that epic one-on-one against Hikaru, and also basically tells all this information to Iroha. And Hikaru overhears all of this and goes, oh shit, that's not good. So their battle continues, and Hikaru goes all out in order to try and defeat Iroha, but Iroha wins, and Hikaru goes down, and Hikaru is actually about to witch out. By the way, reminder, this is all playing now in Futatsugi City. There is no double city in Futatsugi City. If your soul gem goes black, you dead in Futatsugi City. Like, we are on standard Madoka Mágica rules right here. So what happens is, if Hikaru is about to witch out, but Iroha, of course, you can see it coming, she kills Hikaru by destroying his soul gem. Just kidding, she has a grief seed, and she uses the grief seed, of course, to save Hikaru, because that's, of course, what Iroha does. She was just trying to kill you, but, you know, Iroha is way too nice about all this. This is not even the most, I know I keep going on about, oh my god, Iroha and the good guys, they're just too nice, and they should maybe actually do something more to the bad guys in order to fend them off. This is not even the point that I'm most mad about in this regard, right? This right here, I can actually understand this. I'm not mad about this part right here. Something else is coming up later. Anyway. So, after all of this has happened, she of course saves Hikaru's life with the grief seed, and Hikaru regains consciousness. She sort of goes like, oh, you know, how you saved my life, we never forget this, and stuff, but is still mad about her, and says like, yeah, we're gonna keep on fighting you, this is not gonna change anything, and then just sort of leaves. So, meanwhile, back in the PB base, though, like in the actual Promised Blood base, Yuna realizes, because of this information, because like Hikaru is already back at the PB base at this point. She knows how to get around really fast. So she's at the PB base talking to Yuna, and because of all that information, Yuna realizes that Sakuya has indeed betrayed Promised Blood, but she's not too mad about that right now, because she sort of rubs her hand, all of our plans are going perfectly, ha 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 ha, with like thunder and lightning in the background, because she's so evil. So yeah, for now, I guess they know that Sakuya has betrayed them, but they're fine with that. They don't really care, but that's a big fucking death flag for Sakuya. So now then the next section begins, and in the next section, we actually cut back to some completely different spot. We're cutting back to the place where Green Jasper Diviners played, Kirimine Village. The village where, like, the Tokime clan has their base, and they have their minions. I've talked about the minions before. They also have a bunch of minions. And the thing is, Shizuka, she's feeling rather down. Things are not going too well, like, PB, they were being mean to her, they were talking down to her, they were making fun of her, and also Shizuka like doesn't know how to continue, what to do anymore at this point, because things aren't going too well. And there's also other talking members, like the Faceless Goons, they're all going on about, oh man, our leader is so cozy with the Kamimaga Union, she's selling us out, we're being sold out to the Kamimaga Union, what happened to Tokime, guys? Tokime clan, yeah! But yeah, Shizuka just is not really feeling it right now. Because Shizuka also has, in general, like since Green Jasper Devices, has had trouble understanding why so many magical girls made wishes for themselves, like for their own sake, and not for the glory of Japan, because Shizuka is all about like that giant foam finger, Japan #1, yeah, I love Japan, woo! She's very patriotic, almost nationalist, I would say, very patriotic about Japan. I think it's like, yeah, magical girls should fight for Japan, right? This is all about like making sure that Japan is going to be the greatest we ever can be. And her mother is there. And by the way, reminder that also everyone in Kirimine Village knows that magical girls exist. So of course her mother also knows that Shizuka is a magical girl, and sort of gives her some few pointers and is like, oh no, don't worry about it. All the magical girls, even if they haven't made wishes directly for the sake of Japan, they're still fighting for Japan, right? By defeating witches, making Japan a safer place. Therefore they're fighting for Japan. Nice. However, she also tells Shizuka that apparently in the village recently there have been some thefts, and some people have come to gambling, and things aren't looking too nice in the village. It's all sort of gone downhill a little bit in the last few days, weeks, months, I don't know. So later at night, Chiharu is there, of course, with the rest of her team, and she smells something. Wasn't me. She smells some evil because, by the way, reminder, Chiharu's special innate magic is that she can smell evil stuff, or smell when something is wrong. Oh, I smell that something is wrong. And she follows that smell, and she finds like a guy who's been kissed by a witch, like who has a witch kiss, who's going around stealing stuff. And they sort of like the entire team is there, like Sunao and Shizuka as well, and they all beat up the witch, goes really easily because they're really powerful now, they're really strong, they've grown stronger over their travels. And they find out that, yeah, man, witches are still around. People are suffering because of the witches. And I mean, this is like a small village. This is not the big city where there's like hundreds of magical girls around. These are like the small villages. This, of course, stuff like this happens all over Japan in all these tiny villages. And like the people of Japan, they're all suffering so hard from the witches, the plight of the witches. And of course, there's so many magical girls out there who are also suffering because of the system. And Shizuka goes, you know what? I need to be the defender of the small guy. I need to be the people's hero, basically, and says, it's time. We need to stop sucking up to Kamihamaga Union. It's time to go Tokime first again. Tokime #1 for Japan #1. And she says we're going to break off our alliance with Kamihamaga Union sometime later. Then back in Kamihama, we see that all the people who were part of the Kamihama excursion from Promised Blood, they meet up again and regroup, and it just so happens that there's another Kimochi nearby. Woo! And Tokime clan members, they're also back in Kamihama after that little place, like that, everything that I've just talked about Kimochi Village. After all of that, they went back to Kamihama, and so they also notice a Kimochi nearby. So once again, two factions are noticing a Kimochi at the exact same time, and they're all going to meet up there, and they're all going to fight. Now, something that I didn't mention because it's kind of weird, and I didn't read the chapter myself, like it's not 100% translated one-to-one exactly. I just read like a summary and looked at as much as I could at the Japanese stuff, because I can read a little bit of Japanese, just a tiny bit, and I still don't quite believe this, but apparently in Tokime Village, Shizuka's mother like had a secret technique that she apparently found out some magical girls can use, where if you have strong emotions towards someone, like negative emotions towards someone, you can like look at them with like a really evil stare and like project some magic onto them, and it like stuns them. Apparently she taught that to Shizuka, and Shizuka in this fight uses this to stun Ao. Because, by the way, reminder that in an earlier fight, Shizuka beat Ao, and then Ao came back and sort of sliced Shizuka open, so they have a sort of rivalry going on. So now Shizuka uses that I-beam, I don't know what the fuck is going on, and stuns Ao, I don't know. However, while all this is going on, during all of this fighting, Judy has this master plan where she basically allows some Tokime members to attack the Kimochi and weaken a little bit, and then she like sort of jumps in, pulls out a giant flamethrower, and roasts the Kimochi and steals the kill for herself. What a kill stealer! By the way, now this means that PB, I think, has three Kimochi stones. 2 are on Kamihamaga Union, and I think 1 is on Tokime. I think that's the how it goes right now. So yeah, the Kimochi is beaten, and of course once Kimochi dies, everyone just sort of retreats peacefully and doesn't push their advantage at all. So while the PB members retreat, they go back to that secret mirrors portal that is in Kamihama. And I guess it comes up sooner than I thought. But you know what? At the beginning of this, when I talked about the GPS, it's going to come up later. This is where it comes up. So Ryo has been walking around this place where she noticed with the GPS stuff that a bunch of people are walking around from Promised Blood. And she sees Promised Blood members using the secret mirrors portal. And she take the photo of it. Ooh, she's gonna relay that information to the others. However, we're going back to Futatsugi City because that's also some stuff. So at Futatsugi City, like after Iroha has some rest because Iroha was also like, I guess injured or whatever, or like exhausted after that fight with Hikaru. She's suddenly surrounded by PB minions and sort of just gives up and is captured by the PB minions. And they all take Iroha to some catacombs below the city, where apparently Promised Blood, they bury the dead Megoka. Because of course, like I said, in Futatsugi City, like Megoka are like fighting each other to the death all the time. What do you do with all of these corpses? Well, they built some catacombs where they like have some graves where they like shove the dead people in it. You know, Promised Blood definitely are the good guys in this story. So down there, Yuna goes all on about how Kamihama Megoka, they were all wrong. They were all the bad guys. They were actually the bad guys, and Promise, but they're just the innocent bystanders who were hurt by all of this. And she also mentioned how like Toka is the worst of all of them because Toka was totally fine with so many people dying for it. Which, you know what? You're right, Yuna. You're actually right that Toka is a fucking shit who was totally fine with like thousands to hundreds of thousands of people dying all over the place, not just in Kamihama, but like all over the place around in the other cities as well. So yeah, you're right, Yuna. Fuck Tokash, Jesus. So Yuna is kind of right about all of this. However, Yuna is also kind of evil because she's like, you know what? I'm not just gonna kill you. Killing you is too good for you. I'm gonna like enjoy myself. There's a lot of evil laugh. Okay, she might not have done that, but basically she does that. So Yuna at this point tells Iroha that, hey, they've gotten 2 kimochis just today. Meanwhile, in Kamihama, while all this happened. So since they've just gotten 2 kimochi, they basically don't need Ui anymore. In fact, they've gotten the kimochi stones like a while ago already. So they hadn't had any need to keep Ui around for like a whole bunch of time already. So, yeah, you know. And then Hikaru just sort of comes in and says, sort of finishes the sentence and goes, you know, Iroha, we murdered Ui, and we took her body, her mangled dead body, and we just shoved it into one of those graves back there. You can visit her if you want. Here's her hair clip if you don't believe us. Iroha just saved your fucking life, and what do you do? What do you do, Hikaru? Hikaru is not a good person, because Hikaru is just like, yo, you saved my life, guess what? I'm gonna make you witch out, because as soon as Hikaru says that, Iroha almost immediately like gets close to witching out. Her soul gem like immediately becomes black and she's like just seconds away from witching. So yeah, if anyone is out there who's still thinking like maybe PP aren't actually that bad, because here's the thing, Yuna specifically says that like, I was just killing you, is too good. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to make you witch out, and then I'm going to eat your witch. I'm going to eat your essence. Your life essence is going to fuel my soul gem. Evil as fuck, man. So however, meanwhile, during all of this, once again, the other people, like the rest of Team Mikasuki and Team Kamore, they still had Sakuya's info to go on, and Sakuya keeps like giving them more information, and they sort of go around the city, and they go to the place where Ui was indeed being held at that point, where Urara is still there. I don't know if it's Urara or Ulala. I've heard both. I'm just gonna go with Urara for now, and so Urara was still there and with a bunch of PB minions, and the thing is, of course, Sakuya is now there with the rest of the team, so Sakuya has to sort of act like she's part of Promised Blood again and sort of act like she's gonna fight the team now, even though she really just helped them get here, and she's just acting like she's part of Promised Blood still. So a little fight breaks out, but of course Urara has absolutely no chance against all of them and just goes quick, so gets absolutely whacked. So not just that, Urara, even after Urara has already been defeated, she still has the nerve to gloat about, hey guys, your leader, your Iroha, is about to witch out and we're gonna eat her essence. Urara is also not really a good person. Neither is Ranka. Why is Promised Blood full of assholes? Like, Promised Blood is just assholes, and Ao and Sakuya. That's like the entirety of Promised Blood. Anyway, so after Urara says this, Yacho just sort of like slams, like she sort of takes this right here and sort of pushes it against Urara's face multiple times repeatedly with much force until she passes out. Something along those lines. So Sakuya, however, is still there, and she's sort of, with all the other Promised Blood members gone, and like Urara sort of not being able to listen right now, she gives them even more information and tells them like, oh, if what Urara said is right, then she's probably in the catacombs below, and she sort of also points them towards the catacombs. But Sakuya also tells them like, hey, we gotta part ways now. I'm gonna have to keep acting like I'm part of Promised Blood now. I don't know what to do. Like Sakuya is very much in emotional turmoil throughout the entirety of main story. What's she gonna end up? Is she gonna end up with Promised Blood? Is she gonna actually stay with them? Is she gonna make a break and go with to Tokime to join up with her girlfriend Yoko? Or is she gonna end up in a body bag, which is seeming likely at this point? However, now we're going to cut back to below the catacombs, where we have Iroha about to turn into a witch, and she actually starts turning into a witch. However, before you all guys get happy, like, oh my god, Iroha's going to die, yay! No, because the transformation is halted midway because, and it gets reversed, and she's going to be fine again because she has the Kimochi bracelet, and the Kimochi in the bracelet sort of starts talking to her, and it's like, I'm not going to let you die, I'm going to give you some of my energy, take my energy, and survive, basically. So the Kimochi sort of gives her some energy and makes her not witch out for just a few more seconds, which is just barely enough for Ui and the rest to arrive on the scene and save Iroha, and everyone's like, oh no, our plans have been foiled, oh no. So Yachiyo is there, and Iroha just sort of gets released because Yachiyo says, you know what, we could sort of kick your teeth in and completely, we could even kill you right now if we wanted to, but because we're sort of in a place where the dead rest, we're sort of gonna pay some respect to the dead and not fight you here. And that's the place where I think they're getting let off a little bit too easy. They just did the most sadistic fucking shit they could imagine to the leader of their faction, and they just go, well, there's some dead people nearby, so we don't want to disturb the dead, so bye. And they just sort of let them go. Why won't you do that? I think it's framed in the sort of sense that sort of Iroha being released from PB is a sort of trade-off for them not attacking him. Like, we're not attacking you, but we want Iroha back, sort of in that sense. But still, throw a spear at them or something. I think you're letting them off a bit too easily here, Yachiyo, especially Yachiyo. I think Yachiyo will be the first one to go, nah, we're chopping their heads off. But anyway, so they got let go. Yuna sort of goes like, oh no, our plans will fall again, but you haven't seen the last of me. So they all, the entire team is back together. I've said before that Team Kamode is also part of this, but you have noticed that I haven't really mentioned them because they don't really do much at all during this entire part. So all of them, they meet back up again and they hop on a train back home. And I know what you just heard me say was hop on a train. You might have thought to yourself that I just saw that I wanted to say they hop in a train. They don't hop in a train, they hop on a train on their way back home, where Kyubey appears to them, and apparently Kyubey appears before all other faction leaders as well. And Kyubey sort of tells them a sort of public service announcements. Here's a PSA for you guys. 6 of the 8 stones have been collected by people. There's only 2 more stones to get, but you gotta have all 8 of them at some point to have control of the double system. So yeah, it's gonna be 2 more Kimochi, and then they're gonna probably kill each other over who gets to have all of the 8 stones. My money is on Neo-Magius. Ha! Actually, my money is on 100 Evils happening, and then like some apocalyptic event is gonna happen, and then all of the factions are gonna go, we all need to fight together against this evil. And so they all give their Kimochi stones to Iroha, probably, apart from Yuna, who's probably gonna have to get slaughtered at some point. At least that's my idea. So it's not too much longer for the rest of this chapter. However, now that they're all back in Kamehama, they all meet up again at Mitahama's for sort of debriefing, where also they get told the info from Ryo about the mirrors portal that PB is using. And here's a bit of lore about how this is all working. So apparently Mitahama says that there are familiars of the Mirror Witch, some Mirror Witch minions. They're going around and they turn into witches themselves, of course, at some point, as familiars do. And when they do, they sort of create their own sort of entrance into the Mirror's labyrinth. And because a witch usually makes many familiars, and they still haven't killed the Mirror Witch, there's like familiars all over the place now, becoming witches and making their own portals, which kind of means that the entire world is, or maybe the entire world, but the entire region is currently being swamped in secret Mirror Witch labyrinth portals. And if you know where they are, you can use them to teleport, basically, because they're all linked to the same labyrinth. think of it like the hell in Minecraft. Even though in Minecraft and hell, where like one step is basically 16 steps in the overworld, it's kind of like this, where the Mirror's Labyrinth is rather small, I guess, or I guess if you know your way around, it's rather small. So you can take you can take an entrance into it, walk just a little bit in the Mirror's Labyrinth, then pop back out again another point, and you're in a completely different city, and that's really awesome. And that's basically how PB has been going around. I don't know if I mentioned this last time, but basically Kyubey has told Promised Blood where these portals are so they can get to Kamehama faster, because Kyubey really likes it when people fight. That's basically the idea why Kyubey did all of this. In the meantime, also Tokime, they meet up again with Mikasuki for just a regular meeting, watching some TV together, or just having a chat. And Shizuka, I don't know if we actually see this. I don't think we do. But Shizuka basically mentions that during that meeting, she's going to talk to Iroha, and she's going to tell her like, "Hey, Tokime first. Fuck you guys. We are breaking off our alliance." They're still being friends, by the way. Like a lot of people have mentioned, they're like, "Oh, them breaking off their alliance. Doesn't mean they're not friends anymore?" I think they're still going to be friends, right? Of course they're going to be friends. They're good friends. But when it comes to like the endeavors of fighting Kimochi and gathering the Kimochi stones, they're going to be on their own. So now we get to the final section. In my opinion, the only section of this is actually really good. Really good as in like, it features Alina and Mikage and Karin. Oh my god, all my favorite characters are in here. So what is happening now? So we cut back to Mikage. And by the way, this entire next section, this is the last section of this chapter, this basically happens during all of the other stuff that happened in this chapter. So there are like some characters talking about stuff that just happened in this chapter, as if it just happened. So it's basically playing at the same time. So in this section, we see that Mikage is currently at her sister's at Mitamas and is getting adjusted, and she talks about how it's nice that she's helping Nayuta do some stuff, even though Mikage sort of forced herself into Nayuta's services by just being like, hey, I'm gonna follow you now. And Nayuta was like, oh, okay. So Nayuta is also there, and they're gonna both head off, like Nayuta and Mikage, to the hospital again to gather some more information and talk to some people, find out, and as a reminder, they're looking into what happened to Toka's uncle, which is Nayuta's father. You know, the guy who wrote the book about magical girls, which is kind of weird, and also the guy who sort of told Kagome about magical girls. So this guy is really fucking important, and no one knows where he is. He sort of went missing, and they're sort of missing. Like, Nayuta, Mikage, and Rabi basically fall off zero. They're all looking for him, and they're trying to find more information back at the hospital, which is owned by his brother, Toka's father. So they head there, and they find that Alina and Karin are around, and Alina is of course drawing again, and Alina like immediately makes Mikage a model for a painting, and Mikage is like, cool, I get a model for a painting, I can be art. And I guess Nayuta, also gets to be in the painting. And Mifuyu is also around, because Mifuyu is just really still kind of sus. She's still sus of Alina, so she's just hanging around to make sure that Alina isn't doing anything, although I guess Alina really likes that, because I guess Alina... Actually, I don't know if Alina even talks about Mifuyu in this chapter, or just in general, because it seems like with Alina's amnesia, and in case you have forgotten Alina's amnesia, I think since of amnesia, she might not have even talked too much about Mifuyu. Anyway, so they see the painting, and apparently Alina has painted in sort of a cubistic style, in the style of cubism. She has like painted Mikage and Nayuta, and while they're there, Nayuta also mentions about like trying to find information about her father, but she can't really find anything. And Alina is doing some weird stuff. I can tell you guys, in the next main story chapter, not this one because this one's about to end, but in the next main story chapter, shit's about to go down with Alina. Alina is going to go full on crazy, like not crazy in the negative sense, but crazy in the positive sense in some way. And like, just listen to this. So Alina sort of just randomly now talks in really cryptic, mysterious sentences that seem completely removed from anything else. It's like Nayuta talks about like not being able to find her daddy, and Alina is like, oh, I know the feeling of being trapped in an endless labyrinth. If you are having trouble finding your way, head back to the entrance. So sort of stuff like that, where you just go, what the fuck is going on with Alina? But it's gonna get weirder. It's gonna get weirder. However, not right now, because Nayuta is back home and she reads some more books that her father wrote, where apparently she finds some new information that she hadn't found before. Should have read those books better. Maybe Toka could have helped with reading books faster, or Nemo would have been better with that. And she finds out that apparently her daddy has been in Futatsugi City at some point, and she thinks maybe if I go to Futatsugi City and talk to some people there, like some magic girls there, I can maybe find out more information, like what was my daddy doing in Futatsugi City. However, she knows that the entire place is swarming with promised blood, so that's probably not going to work out too well. just go there and ask some people, especially because her last name is Satomi, and Satomi is known as, you know, Toka, the big person, the big evil. Like, to promise blood, Toka might as well be the Satan of their religion. So scrolling in there and be like, hey, my name is Satomi, might not be the best idea. Instead, though, you know how in last chapter she was at some point attacked by Ranka because they thought that Nayuta was part of Kamiyamamage Union? She isn't. So the thing is, she heads back to Ranka because apparently she knows how to contact her, and she meets up with her and basically talks to her about just wanting some information about what happened in Futatsugi City. And Ranka was like, yeah, your daddy was over there at some point, and apparently he helped some magical girls in some way. So he's a chill dude, and if you're his daughter, I guess I'm gonna help you out because this guy was a chill dude, so I guess you're good in my book, I guess. So they talk a little bit, and Ranka gives her Judy's phone number, so Nayuta calls Judy, and Judy says, like, I don't know anything. I'm too busy roasting people, hey! Yeah, Judy doesn't know anything about anything, so Nayuta once again doesn't really have anything to go on. However, she gets a call from Toga, who is like, hey, if you've gotten some emails from your daddy, and you don't know where he is, why don't you just do an IP tracking on where those emails came from? And she does that and finds out that the last few emails that Nayuta got from her daddy came from her own house. Which is kind of impossible because she's there and she hasn't seen the guy. So some weird mystery is going on. But if you're wondering how this is possible, well, we're gonna see how this could be possible because shit's about to get really fucking weird. So Nayuta still goes, I don't know what to do, but I still remember those words that Alina said, and Alina is fucking crazy, I guess. So she heads back to Alina, where, or she's trying to, because we don't actually get to see her meeting up with Alina again this chapter, because we're going to the last scene where we cut back to the hospital. Alina is there. She has finished her painting that she started earlier with Mikage and Nayuta, and Karin and Mifuya are there, and they see the painting and they notice that she's kept painting stuff around it, and she has painted Nayuta and Mikage to be in the Mirror's Labyrinth. And they ask her, why did you paint the Mirror's Labyrinth? And Alina is like, I don't know what the Mirror's Labyrinth is. Someone is putting these images in my head. Someone is communicating with me and showing me visions of this place, this Mirror's Labyrinth. And it's where we are. We are there right now. And that's where the chapter ends. If you wanted any information about what the fuck is going on, it seems like the Mirror's Labyrinth might be sort of overlapping with reality, maybe causing some dirty deeds done dirt cheap shenanigans to happen, we don't fucking know. But Alina's probably going to become a central player in the storyline of Folklore of Zero, so Folklore of Zero might gain Alina and Karin as members, as weird as that sounds. But yeah, that was that. What a chapter. You might have noticed from the length of this video, main story arc 2 chapters are way longer, like over twice as long, I think, than like arc 1 chapters. They're so goddamn long, with so much stuff happening. And I even cut out most of the stuff. I cut out like 60% of all the stuff that's happening that's not relevant to the plot, and still it took this long. So yeah, that was it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and I'll see you guys next time.